When the dead rise and chaos erupts in the streets, where do you go? For millions of people, the answer is simple: nowhere. They're already there, living in an apartment building. But is that a good thing or a death sentence? Welcome to Survival Theorem, where we analyze survival scenarios with logic, not luck. Today, we're breaking down one of the most common survival locations on Earth, the apartment building. Is it a defensible fortress or a vertical tomb? Let's run the numbers and find out. Let's start with the positives, because apartments actually have some serious advantages that most people overlook. First, let's talk about vertical defense. Zombies can't climb. They can't operate complex mechanisms. They can't problem-solve their way up a stairwell if it's blocked. If you're living on the third floor or higher, you've just eliminated 90% of the immediate threat. No ground-level windows for them to smash through, no easy access to your front door. You're living above the danger zone. Compare that to a single-family home where every window and door is a potential breach point. In an apartment, your primary entry is one door in a hallway. That's a massive tactical advantage. One door, one choke point, one thing to defend. Now let's talk about those stairwells. Modern apartment buildings have multiple staircases, often at opposite ends of the building. That's not just for fire safety, that's for survival flexibility. If zombies flood one stairwell, you've got another escape route. If both are compromised, many buildings have rooftop access, emergency ladders, or even connected balconies you can move across. Options equal survival. Apartments give you options. Here's something people don't think about. Numbers. An apartment building isn't just you. It's 50, 100, maybe 200 other people. In a survival situation, that's not a liability, that's an army. That's engineers, doctors, former military, teachers, mechanics. That's a labor force. That's a community that can organize, defend, and sustain itself if you play it smart. One person can't hold a building, 20 people can. Pooling resources, sharing skills, rotating guard shifts, these aren't luxuries, they're necessities. And apartments give you an instant population to work with. Let's talk about resources. Apartment buildings aren't just residential spaces, they're mini infrastructure hubs. Most have maintenance rooms filled with tools, laundry facilities with water heaters and plumbing access, gyms with equipment you can repurpose into weapons or barricades. Some have backup generators, security systems, even rooftop gardens in newer builds. You've got communal supplies spread across dozens of units. Every apartment has food, water, medicine, clothing. If you can organize even half the building, you're sitting on months of supplies. That's not something you get in a single-family home. And here's the kicker: visibility. From higher floors, you can see for blocks. You can monitor zombie movements, spot other survivors, identify supply runs before you commit. Information is power, and elevation gives you information. So apartments sound pretty good, right? Defensible, resource-rich, community-oriented. But here's where the theory breaks down. Because every advantage I just listed comes with a fatal flaw. Let's start with the most obvious problem. You're trapped in a high-density urban area. Apartments don't exist in the countryside. They exist in cities. And cities mean people, lots of people. When the outbreak hits, those people become zombies, thousands of them, tens of thousands. You're not defending against a handful of undead wandering through a field. You're defending against a horde that never stops growing. Every person who dies on your street adds to the numbers outside your door. Every failed evacuation, every panicked survivor who gets bitten, every body that turns, they all end up surrounding your building. You think you're safe on the third floor? What happens when 1,000 zombies pack the ground floor so tight that they create a ramp of bodies? What happens when the sheer weight of the horde collapses the entrance? Height only protects you if the base holds. And in a city, the base won't hold. Now let's talk about your neighbors. You think 100 people is an advantage? Let me tell you what really happens. Panic, chaos, hoarding, violence. How many of those 100 people are actually useful? How many are children, elderly, or injured? How many have the skills, the mentality, or the physical capability to survive? Maybe 10%. Maybe. The rest become liabilities. They consume resources without contributing. They make noise. They argue. They break under pressure. And worst of all, they hide infections. Someone gets bitten on a supply run. They don't tell anyone because they're scared. They lock themselves in their apartment, hoping they'll be fine. Then they turn. Now you've got an infected inside your secure building, and by the time anyone realizes it, 3 more people are dead and turning. One infection in a shared building spreads like wildfire. Shared ventilation systems, shared hallways, close quarters. It's a biological disaster waiting to happen. Apartments aren't fortresses, they're petri dishes. Here's the reality nobody wants to admit. Most apartment dwellers are not prepared. They don't have emergency supplies. They don't have weapons. They don't have skills. When the power goes out and the water stops running, they'll come knocking on your door. And when you say no, some of them will try to take what you have by force. You're not just fighting zombies. You're fighting desperate humans in close proximity who know exactly where you live. Let's talk about resources again, but this time realistically. Yes, apartments have supplies for about 2 weeks, maybe a month if people ration. Then what? You can't grow food in an apartment. No soil, no sunlight in most units, no space. Rooftop gardens sound great in theory, but you're not feeding 100 people with a few tomato plants. You're talking about survival farming, and that requires land. Acres of it. Water? You're dependent on city infrastructure. When the water treatment plants fail, when the pressure drops, when the pipes run dry, you're done. No well to draw from, no river nearby, just empty taps in a building full of thirsty people. Every calorie you eat, every drop you drink, it all has to come from outside. That means supply runs, constant, dangerous, deadly supply runs into a city crawling with zombies. How long before someone doesn't come back? How long before you run out of volunteers? Here's the math. High-rise apartment, 100 people, average consumption of 2,000 calories per day. That's 200,000 calories daily. Even with rationing, you're burning through supplies at an unsustainable rate. You're not surviving, you're just dying slower. And let's talk about infrastructure collapse, because it's going to happen fast. Power grids fail, water mains break, gas lines rupture, cell towers go dark. You're living in a building designed for a functioning society, and that society just ended. No electricity means no lights, no refrigeration, no communication, no security systems. You're stumbling around in the dark, your food is rotting, and you have no idea what's happening outside. No water means no sanitation. Toilets don't flush, showers don't work. Disease spreads. In a building with 100 people and no working plumbing, you're looking at a cholera outbreak within weeks. No heat in winter, people freeze. No cooling in summer, people die of heat stroke. Apartments are climate-controlled environments, and when that control disappears, they become uninhabitable. You might think you can adapt, stockpile batteries, collect rainwater, burn furniture for heat. But you're in a concrete box surrounded by thousands of zombies. Every day is a struggle, and every struggle drains you a little more. So here's the final theorem. Can you survive in an apartment during a zombie apocalypse? Short term? Absolutely. If you're already there when the outbreak starts, stay put. Lock your door. Assess your supplies. Make contact with trustworthy neighbors. Fortify your position. You can buy yourself days, maybe weeks of relative safety while the initial chaos sorts itself out. Use that time to plan. Scout escape routes. Gather intelligence. Prepare for the inevitable moment when you have to leave. Because long-term? No. Apartments are not sustainable survival locations. They're temporary shelters in hostile territory. No food production, no water independence, no escape from urban density. You're surrounded by millions of zombies with nowhere to go and nothing to sustain you. The smart survivor uses the apartment as a staging ground, not a final destination. Gather what you can. Form alliances. Wait for the horde to thin out or migrate. Then move. Get to the suburbs. Get to the countryside. Get anywhere with land, water, and distance from population centers. Standing still in an apartment is just dying in slow motion. Here's your action plan if you're trapped in an apartment when it starts. Secure your door immediately. Deadbolts, furniture, anything heavy. Buy yourself time to think. Take inventory of everything you have: food, water, medicine, tools, weapons. Ration from day one. Make contact with your immediate neighbors. Find out who's alive, who's capable, who you can trust. Form a small group, not the whole building, just a few reliable people. Scout your stairwells carefully. Map out which floors are safe, which are compromised. Identify all exits. If possible, secure the roof. It's your fallback position and your best vantage point. Stay quiet, stay hidden, stay ready to move. That's the survival theorem on apartments. They're a tactical position, not a solution. Use them wisely, but don't mistake shelter for safety. If this analysis helped you think strategically, subscribe. Next time we're breaking down whether castles are the ultimate zombie fortress or just medieval death traps. Stay sharp, stay logical, and stay alive.